Hello.
Hey, Todd.
How's it going?
It's good. How are you doing after the first
I'm
big
pretty good.
night? Yeah, big fans here in Pittsburgh. First of all, I want to say happy birthday. It seems like the year-long celebration.
Yeah.
They've got Big Island, Virginia, which looked like a wild time. Scotland, Todd Scott.
Yeah.
You've got the West Coast coming up, Toddaroo down under, and
Yeah.
it just never ends. How did the whole Toddstock thing get started?
Yeah. It kind of goes back to the year I turned 50. I had moved to Kauai,
Right?
but I hadn't built a house yet, so we had a big, plot of land there that we would camp out on. And we thought, well, let's just invite a bunch of people out. And about 75 people came out and camped, and we had a fun time. So when I turned 60, we thought, okay, let's do it again. And by that time, we had built the house, and we had a big lot next door. So we said, anybody who wants to make their way to Kauai, come join the party. And about 250 people showed up for that. And it was great. Everyone had a good time. And that
Yeah.
was kind of where the whole Toddstock moniker got coined.
And now, as you turn 70, we have Toddstock around the world. Then.
Yeah, well, it's decided we would just let the fans decide
Yeah.
where they wanted to do it and say, if you have an idea submit it to us, and if it looks like a good idea, we'll help you pull that off. And so that's why we have 4 different ones in different parts of the world. And so far, we're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
we,
And you're still touring. You just got done with the big Utopia thing, which was fantastic. Thank you very much. Went up to Cleveland
oh,
and saw that, did the big party.
that
And
was fun, yeah.
yeah, and so she got some different guys together in the band. So Prairie got a chance to take a break. But Chasm, of course, it never takes a break, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so how does that feel after the Utopia thing? Are you kind of like easing in a little bit more for the Unpredictable tour?
Well,
Taking it
the
easy?
Utopia thing and the tours that we did last year, the White Night tours, are
Hmm.
all fairly high production affairs. And thought, well, I'm not promoting a new record right now. Let's take a break from that and do something that's fun and easy. And
And more
we sort of
intimate,
know
don't
that
you think? I mean, you're a little closer to the audience. You talk a little bit. It seems
I
like.
talk more than I
Hmm.
do. Yeah, I'm kind of being myself in this context, as
Yeah.
opposed to the rock star act
Hmm.
put on in a more theatrical
Right.
presentation. So
Lights and buzzers.
yeah, it's a chance for us to kind of loosen up, reminisce a little bit. It'll be some of my material, but it'll also be a lot of material that people have not heard before.
Well, that was one
Or
of the big
that
things. We were all talking. We said, well, it's another unpredictable show. Are we going to be able to predict what he's going to do? Is it going to be Lauren Green? Be able to give it away or not? But it sounds like you've got a lot of new material that you are going to surprise everybody with.
Yeah, we have worked out some more songs. We got a couple White Night songs that we can do as well, but we had our first show that's tried out some of the new material, and everyone seemed pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we, if a song pops into my head sometime when we're on the road, I call the band together during sound check, and we'll learn another song. That's kind of how this all started. The list of material that we had in the early days of the Unpredictable tours was much shorter than it is now.
So you could do something like Lunatic Fringe or Fire or Patches. And so here in Pittsburgh, we're hoping that maybe you would do a Donnie Iris song. We just ask every band that comes to Pittsburgh, by the way, if they will do a
Uh-huh.
Donnie Iris Aaliyah song. So that would be very special. I'm just throwing that out there.
Oh, okay. Well, we will take it under advisement.
Okay. So who do you have back? You've got Chasm, Prairie, Jesse.
Chasm Prairie, Jesse, and Greg Hawkes
Awesome.
also,
Yeah.
who's been touring with us the past couple of years since John Forensic essentially retired from the road.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, Greg's great. Of course, Jesse's awesome. And you had to play a little bit more guitar when you were with the Utopia thing because you didn't have Jesse. So are you playing some more guitar this time as you're heading out?
I play guitar maybe about half the time on this one. A lot of the times, if we're doing some new and obscure material, I need to focus on the lyrics because I don't like to read the lyrics. I like to have them committed to memory.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it seem like I actually know what I'm doing. Yeah, so I play.
But if you start over again,
guitar,
we're okay with that too, because we've seen that happen before. It's like, wait a minute, let me start over again, right?
Yeah.
We all think that's very charming and fun.
Yeah, we can, we can do that if necessary. It's not as big a train wreck as it would be, as I say, one of these more theatrical shows where everything's timed out. We've got backing tracks and video cues and all kinds of stuff like that.
And the symphony plays, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and so I think everyone feels like the pressure is off. A lot of the places that we play, the audience has to stand, and in a lot of these gigs, it isn't. There's more seating involved, so it's comfortable. It's more comfortable.
Yeah, and where you're playing for us at the Carnegie Homestead Music Hall on August the 8th, it is all seated, and it's this fun little theater, and, the balcony is close. We all feel pretty close and intimate. I'm in the second row, by the way, so just keep that in mind. but
it's ideal for this kind of show because it'd be a little weird to do this thing in an arena.
Right.
So the intimate thing works well with the show. They're kind of made for each other because the first time I ever did the show was in a place in New York called the Winery. There are a couple of those venues, but they're essentially it's dinner theater. It's like and if you're doing it like a stand-up rock show, that's kind of weird, to be rocking out while people are eating.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something sort of fun and informal, it doesn't bother me as much, to have people enjoying their cherry stew Belew while
you're having your martini.
While I'm doing Arthur Brown,
And the martini, of course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so speaking of teenies, who's taking care of the house? Is Michelle back home? Is she out with you once in a while?
Michelle is actually starting. She's got a group of her own that she's put together with friends of hers from Minneapolis, and essentially it's a tiki party band.
Intoxicants, right?
Yeah, they'll do mostly like corporate gigs and things like that. She's not actually going to tour on the road, but he's putting that together now. So,
and I love her outfit.
So that will
She's
be fun
cute.
for her.
Yeah, it's so cute for her because she wears these great outfits and everything. It also almost reminds me of a B-52s kind of a thing, right? Because
it's kind of like that. Although there's a whole tiki culture that she's plugged into because she's got, the tiki restaurant out in Kauai. And there's like a giant convention that happens in San Diego where all the people are into tiki culture. And some of them are like restaurant owners, but you'd be surprised how many people have built tiki bars in their own basement.
Nice. Yeah,
and they all come to these things. And so she's got a special slot. They're going to premiere their single. And so...
Because I was going to say, you don't even have to have a license to drive a car because they're bussing you around. Like, you tour more than anybody, right?
Yeah. Well, I also hate driving, so it's gotten a little hectic on and off in the past couple of years. When I was also touring with Ringo, I might be out 8 to 10 months a year and hardly ever at home. At this point, we're trying to find a happy medium because the reason why I'm on the road is so I can have a home to go to.
Yeah.
And so it'd be nice to spend some time there every once in a while.
Yeah, get the family together. Why not? Sure. And so when Ringo calls, do you say, okay, I'm going to make it happen, or how does that work?
Well, I think for the time being, probably we've done that.
So you're kind of like been there, done that?
Same lineup for 6 years.
Yeah.
Which he had never done before. He never kept the same lineup year after year after year. But, after 6 years of playing the same set every night, I felt like I had paid my dues on that.
Well, it's kind of nice to be able to go to a show and say, it's going to be different. There's something different about it, and it brings you back. All the people in the band, that's what the All-Stars are all about. So you don't know what you're going to get every time, almost like the unpredictable, right?
Because there were very few changes in the actual set over a 6-year period. Is that you have to have 3 hit records sometime in your life. So you wind up playing those 3 songs every night. And somebody else's 3 songs every night. And the only thing that changes is occasionally Ringo would swap in a different number of his own.
So you've done so many different types of songs throughout the years. Of course, there's the hits like Hello It's Me and Bang the Drum, and those are the ones that I think people kind of expect to hear. Are you going to do those again, you think?
Well, they may appear at certain points during a performance, but quite obviously in an unpredictable manner.
Okay.
So I've tried to cultivate a sense in my audience that when you go to a show, you should not have a solid set of expectations.
And do not ask for requests because you will not play
it. And I do not take requests.
Exactly. Yes, I love that. So the songs we don't want to hear, we yell those ones out.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't want to hear the song, keep yelling it out.
So yeah, and through the years, you've done so many different types of music, like you'll do the love stuff and the fun things and the politics. So these days, does it feel like the love is so much far behind you that you're over that and you've got to focus on tinfoil hat and the things that are happening around us?
Well, there's always new music for me. I'm always looking for some other way to express an idea or incorporate some interesting new development in music into what I'm doing. I don't feel like I stopped learning about music, and I want my audience to have that same sense that there is still stuff to discover. And I guess a lot of older artists, they just kind of depend on those familiar songs and don't do a whole lot of
they are just
they don't write a whole lot of new material. It's like I was just reading an article about how Billy Joel doesn't even write anymore, and that would drive me crazy. As long as I've got ideas that I need to express and need to express them in music, I'm going to continue to write.
You did the White Night thing with all these different artists. Are you going to try to do something like that again? Bring some more people in?
Yeah, it's actually kind of continued of its own volition. There was some inertia behind it of people who didn't make the deadline for the first record started sending me more stuff, and now I've got a whole other list of artists that have agreed to at least the idea of collaborating.
Nice.
And collaborations between artists.
Well, and speaking of news, so I'm in the kitchen with my husband, and this song comes on the radio, and Jamie says, "That's got to be a Todd song." And I said, "No, it's the Lemon Twigs." And so the Lemon Twigs, I was like, wow, they are. Wait, so you got to look them up, say, who are these kids? It's so awesome. They have a real Todd sound to them sometimes. You right?
Yeah, well, it's actually, I sat in with the band at Coachella a year ago.
Okay.
They learned.
Couldn't I just tell you, right?
Couldn't I just tell you?
Uh-huh.
And we played it together. And then a couple of weeks or months after that, I went to their little studio out in Long Island and did some additions for their record that's just coming out now. So,
and are you like the father of the monkey or something in the story?
Yeah, I'm like the monkey's. I'm the monkey's dad.
Not the monkey's uncle, of course, but the monkey's dad.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Good. So that sounds so interesting, and so I love that young musicians can go all over the place, including looking into a guy who's 70 years old. I mean, and you're admitting you're 70 because it's the birthday year of Todd. So that's it's really nice to see that kind of go full circle, right?
They're kind of a special unit. It's the two brothers. I mean, they're extremely young, and they've been in show business since they were like 5. And they've been, on Broadway and stuff like that. So they have a much more eclectic and sophisticated view of music than a lot of their contemporaries. And then also they seem to be attracted to influences from the 70s. I mean, they sound like Queen. They sound like, like a prog rock band from from the golden era of prog rock. And it's funny, they write separately. They're not like Lennon and McCartney. They each have their own kind of style and interests, and yet they have a détente that works between them. And if you've ever seen them live, that's kind of, amazing thing about them as well. Half the set, Michael plays the drums and Brian fronts the band, and then they swap positions for the other half of the set.
Wow.
And Michael will come up front and Brian will go back and play the drums. So it's a pretty interesting unit, and they're only just getting started. They've only had one record out, so.
Yeah, nice. So you can be the dad to the monkey and continue on and see what
Yeah.
happens to his grandfather maybe in another few years. And so then going back to, again, some of the classic guys, Adrian Belew. Have you talked to him? I mean, do you have a relationship with him, or what's that all about with this Bowie thing happening?
Well, I've known Adrian for a while, but my involvement didn't actually come through him. It came through the drummer, whose name is Mike Urbano, who was in a band called Bourgeois Tag. And right after I produced the Bourgeois Tag album that contained the hit, I Don't Mind at All, the band broke up. You know,
well, you can't do everything.
Bourgeois left and went to Nashville, leaving Tag and everybody else kind of hanging. And so I more or less co-opted the band to do much of the playing on Nearly Human, a record that I did in the late 80s. And they became part of my touring band. Lyle Workman and Larry Tagg and Michael Urbano were part of the band that toured that record. Eventually they went on to do other things with Michael Urbano and Lyle Workman. Both had done this David Bowie tribute thing before. And so I think it was Michael Urbano who contacted me and said, hey, I'm doing this tribute. We just finished playing Europe. We're going to go to Iceland. Are you interested? And I said, yeah, because I've never been to Iceland. And also they're going to do a night with a full orchestra and chorus. So that's got to be really cool.
Right.
And, I couldn't think of a downside. So I said, sign me up.
Nice. So that's like October 7th, so it fits into your birthday and all the other crazy things that are going on.
Yeah, that's right. I fly directly from there to Northern California for Toddstock West.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Toddstock West is over, I go to Australia.
Yeah. And so Adrian Belew, what's it like to? I mean, you say you know him. Have you played with him before, or is this going to be a
no? I've known him from like a long time ago. Came from Ohio, and a bunch of players from Ohio moved to Woodstock. They were in a band called Tin Huey, and I think Adrian had something to do with that. And then he had a band called the Bears.
Love the Bears.
And then, of course, he started playing with David Bowie. And
Talking Heads and all these guys, yeah.
Yeah, and all that. But he played with Bowie at the same time Roger Powell was playing with David Bowie. So, I run into Adrian, all the time. When he was playing with King Crimson, I used to run into him when they play in Northern California. So it's not like we ever kept in touch, but, we have some passing familiarity with each other.
Obviously, he's an amazing guitarist, and you have the vocals and the guitar. Are you looking forward to that? Is that going to be, like, super cool? I mean, I can't believe I'm saying super cool, but, I mean, is that going to be pretty awesome? Yeah,
it's going to be totally awesome. Yeah, Adrian actually is an excellent singer. I'll be kind of hard-pressed to keep up with him, probably.
I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, which, is a big Todd fan. But the Bears were up at the Agora when I was young. Oh, we just had so much fun. It was one of my memorable Agora shows. Beer is never boring. That would be a good, unpredictable song for you to do. Just throwing it out there. I know you don't take requests. So just throwing that out there and just ignore me. So you've got a lot going on, and your family, it seems like you try to see the boys once in a while, your sons, right?
Yeah, well, they're spread out all over, but fortunately, since
You're all over, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all over, so I get to see them at least a couple times a year. The one that's in your area is our middle son, Randy, and he's coaching baseball in the Cleveland area.
Yeah.
Rebob's out in Portland.
Yeah, and he has a studio, right?
Yeah, well, he's currently recovering from skateboard face plant, so
okay.
he'll be all right. And Rex, who used to be, the professional baseball player, he's actually now in concert production in the Bay Area.
And then you have sort of a daughter, which everybody is like, Liv Tyler, kind of your daughter for a while, and then Steven Tyler actually became real dad. But do you still talk to her?
Yes, I do. In fact, I just, we're in Portland, Maine now, and that's where her grandmother and her aunt who raised her live. And so they'll be coming to the show tonight, and Liv have emailed me about it. So, yeah, we're still in touch.
Nice. And so we're going to have a big pre-party, by the way, when you're here, which you're welcome to join us at.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a gazebo in front of this. It's an old library that the Carnegie family put together. Andrew Carnegie, who was an interesting cat, had a pretty horrible first life, was pretty nasty, and then tried to make up for it and buying his way into heaven the second part of his life. So he has all these libraries, right? All these libraries and things that he's done for the community, and that's where you'll be playing at the Carnegie Homestead Music Hall, which is also a library. But there's a beautiful gazebo out front, and we're going to have a food truck and a bunch of drinks and things like that before the show. So everybody coming in, we're going to do something out there. So you could stop out or just send Chasm out. We'd be happy to see him too.
Okay. We'll look for it.
Yeah, that's fun. And then we also tell everybody I talk to when you're in town. We did this with Davy Jones from the Monkees years ago, obviously, and then Michael Rutherford from Genesis, who plays polo. I have a horse at a farm. We go out and take trail rides, and so you guys are welcome to join us. I think you have a couple days that are open. So the day after the show, if you want to come out and do a ride.
Well, that's a lovely invitation, although I don't do well with horses.
Well, you are the White Knight.
Well, but they know I won't be the boss of them.
Okay.
So the first thing they do is head back to the stable.
Right, or they say, "Yeah, you're tall. Let's walk underneath this tree where this branch is going to." Oh, darn! There he goes.
This guy's a pushover. We're going to get rid of him.
Yeah, I know. So, but anyway, we always invite everybody who we talk to come out and do a ride, and sometimes it happens, which is a lot of fun. I loved AWATS. I loved the Todd, the Healing. We did that up at Akron. Beautiful place. It's definitely worth the drive to go to Akron from Pittsburgh to see some shows up there. We always have a good time. So if you put something together, do something with a symphony or not, it's a good place. And we're really looking forward to seeing you on August 8th. So thank you so much, and looking forward to some unpredictable new things that are going to surprise us and have us cheering and dancing up front.
Cool. All righty. We'll see you soon then.
Hey, tell Kaz I said hi.
I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.